The recent surge in student loan debt has been driven disproportionately by borrowing for graduate school. Who's to blame? Well, at least it's partly Congress and a change in the law it made years ago. WSJ's Josh Mitchell joins us now to explain. Josh, take us through some of the numbers. The numbers on these are staggeringly large numbers of amounts of money that students have been borrowing.
Yes, they're very big. So the typical student who leaves grad school now leaves with about $58,000 in debt, at least among students who borrow. And that's about a 43% increase from 2004, and that's after inflation. So these are very huge numbers.
Yeah, we've actually got this great graphic here, which really shows that when you start going into some of those master's degrees, you really rack on a lot more debt. And the medicine or other health science, the big jump there from 123,000 in student debt up to 161,000. And this is also looks at bachelor's degrees, really a much smaller amount. What did Congress change, and how might they be to blame for this?
So there used to be a cap on how much debt grad students could take on, and if you're an undergraduate, there still is a cap. But for grad students, starting in 2006, you could borrow however much the school said your cost of attendance was. So you used to be capped at about 138,000. Now there's no cap, and there's also no cap on per year how much you can borrow.
Wow, so you can really rack this up. And now people have been going back to school because it's been rather hard to find a job. And I think we all know that. That isn't news. So people have been going back to school and just borrowing and borrowing and borrowing and borrowing. Is that a fair characterization of it?
Yeah, sure. And also there are more jobs these days where, you know, these employers want people to have grad school on their belt. So people are going back to school because of the types of jobs that are out there.
Okay. Now, the government is rather worried about this, at least the administration is, that, you know, people are taking on all this debt, and that means they won't have the ability to save for a down payment for a house. It makes buying cars and things like that rather tricky. So people in Congress are worried.
Yeah, you know, so in normal times, you leave school and in theory you're supposed to get a good job and good pay. That hasn't really happened as much because the economy's been so weak for so long. So what you're seeing is people are taking on more debt for a variety of factors. Then they're coming out and they're not getting the types of jobs with the type of incomes that they used to be able to get with school. And so now it's a big issue. The one thing I should point out is that grad students actually fall behind at a slower pace than other types of students on their student loans. So that is a good thing, that grad students actually can keep up with their bills more so than others. You also see that grad students, unemployment among them is lower, and they do actually still get higher incomes. So it's not all a bad thing.
Not all a bad thing, but still some crushing debt.
But it's still worrisome.
Thank you very much.
Right,
Josh
it's still
Mitchell
worrisome, yeah.
of the Wall Street Journal. We appreciate your time, sir.